Hi, welcome. We're so happy to have you here today as we talk about Singin' in the Rain, one of our proudest productions, and to look at some clips from our 2012 production. This was a stage musical based on a movie. That's not at all uncommon these days, but once upon a time it was. This show reflects a very specific era in Hollywood's history. The year is 1927. Silent screen stars are making huge amounts of money, and there's real artistry in the cinema world. The silent screen camera is fluid and can move anywhere, and audiences all around the world can enjoy performances because language is not a barrier to understanding what's going on. But then a film called The Jazz Singer comes out and everything changes. Suddenly, talking pictures are the rage. Into this mix came a young man named Arthur Freed. He came to MGM Studios as a songwriter and he created a string of hit tunes. Broadway melodies, Singin' in the Rain, You Were Meant for Me, I Got a Feelin' You're Fooling, a wonderful array of period perfect songs. And he learned how to be a producer while he was at MGM. And later on, they would forget he was a songwriter, and he became the most brilliant and creative producer in the history of film musicals, starting with The Wizard of Oz in 1939. Well, Betty Comden and Adolph Green created quite a smash in 1944 with On the Town on Broadway, which they wrote the book and lyrics for and also played two of the leading roles. Well, Arthur Freed was always looking for talent from Broadway to come to MGM Studios, so he summoned them and signed them to a contract. Their first assignment was to write a script for a reworking of the old collegiate musical Good News, and then to write the screenplay for On the Town. On the Town was an even bigger hit as a movie starring Gene Kelly and co-directed by Gene Kelly and Stanley Donen. Well, Comden and Green waited for their next assignment, but Arthur Freed was busy working on An American in Paris, which took the song catalog of George and Ira Gershwin and put it into an entirely new story, starring Gene Kelly. Well, when that film opened, it won the Academy Award for Best Picture. So everybody around the studio was thinking, this is a jukebox musical formula that works. Make up a new story and put in the catalog of one of our songwriters. So Arthur Freed thought, I have an idea. We'll write a new story and put in the song catalog of a guy named Arthur Freed. So he told Betty Comden and Adolph Green to come up with a story about somebody who is singing in the rain. And they got Gene Kelly to star and to co-direct it with Stanley Donen, as they had done in On the Town. And after struggling with an idea of what this story should be about, it dawned on Betty Comden and Adolph Green that, of course, it should be a story about that moment in the movies when the silent films went to the talkies. It caused a lot of havoc for some of the great film stars of the silent era because some of them had thick foreign accents, some of them had thick Brooklyn accents, some of them simply had voices that did not record well in the new microphones. And this was a good idea for a story. They went all around the studio and got stories from the technicians about where they used to hide the microphones in the early days. And they were able to incorporate all of that into the script for Singin' in the Rain. Gene Kelly starred as matinee idol Don Lockwood, and his sidekick in the movie was played by Donald O'Connor as Cosmo Brown, and they needed a fresh young thing to be the love interest for Don, and they decided they would hire Debbie Reynolds, who was under contract to the studio. She was 19 years old. She was a former Miss Burbank. She was athletic. She knew a few dance steps, but she really wasn't a dancer. She was very inexperienced, as she would be the first to say. But Gene Kelly and his two assistants drilled her for 2 months before they filmed anything, and she learned to dance. She also did most of her own singing, but there were a few places where she's supposed to be dubbing the voice for a screen star who has a bad voice, and Debbie Reynolds' own voice wasn't quite rich enough to be the logical choice to dub for Lena Lamont. So even though Debbie Reynolds does Good Mornin' and other things in the movie, she's dubbed in the places where she is singing for Lena Lamont or even speaking for Lena Lamont. Anyway, it's a great, great film. It opened in 1952 and it was really well received. It didn't get all the fuss and furor that An American in Paris had gotten the year before, which looked like a very artistic film. Singin' in the Rain just looked like fun. But in the years since it debuted, it has become recognized as one of the greatest films of all time. Well, naturally, it was going to turn up as a stage play somewhere. It showed up first in London in 1983 as a vehicle for the very popular British song and dance band Tommy Steele. But that was a very awkward looking production. It was clumsy. They put in a lot of songs by other composers. Tommy Steele is a popular person over there, but he grins a lot and he's not really a dancer. He's kind of a song and dance hoofer, and he wasn't really quite up to it, I didn't think. Still, it ran almost 900 performances, was very successful. 2 years later, they decided they would do it on Broadway, but they weren't going to do that version. They were going to do their own version, and it was going to be an artistic success. So they hired the modern dance choreographer Twyla Tharp to direct it and to choreograph it. She was not a song and dance gal, and she had never directed actors or shows that had acting scenes in them. And there was so much pressure on her as a major choreographer that instead of the Broadway ballet in Act Two, they did a new weird ballet based on a song called Blue Prelude that she had found from the 1930s. And it was a French Revolution ballet with roller skating. Anyway, it didn't go over that great. The critics did not like this mishmash of the classic film with a new approach that wasn't quite logical. So it played about 367 performances, but it didn't make its money back. Well, the investors hated to see all their money go down the drain, so they sent out a little touring version of it that was much more modest. And for this touring version, Comden and Green came in and got rid of all of the improvements that other people had made to the script, and they took out the songs that didn't belong. They found a wonderful song that Arthur Freed had written for an earlier movie, but it would be perfect for the screechy screen star Lena Lamont to sing badly in Act Two. And they put in Broadway melody and Broadway rhythm, the songs, back into Act Two. And this little modest tour was quite popular, and it started being done by Civic Light Operas. I saw it at a couple theaters in California, and I thought, boy, the Music Theater Wichita audiences would love that. So I announced it for our 1992 season. That was my 5th summer in charge, but the 4th season where I got to pick the shows. And we put together a really wonderful team of folks who were doing good work with us in those days. Jamie Rocco, director, choreographer. Linda Goodrich had worked with Jamie in the production of Cabaret the year before, which she had choreographed and he'd acted in. But for this production of Sing in the Rain, they would co-choreograph. Jamie tended to do more of the tap numbers. Linda tended to work on the ballet, which is in the film, but it wasn't in the stage play. But we felt the stage play really needed it in Act Two. So we worked on putting together the Broadway ballet, Broadway rhythm. Our musical director, Craig Barna, did new orchestrations, and he got some other orchestrators to help him embellish it. And so what we opened here in 1992 was so well received that Jamie Rocco and Linda Goodrich and Craig Barna took this version of the script and they took it to the Paper Mill Playhouse in New Jersey, where it was a hugely successful show, a rave review in the New York Times. And since then, Jamie and Linda and Craig have done the show all over the world, either singly or together. And Craig got a brand new, beautiful cast recording of it done with British record producer John Yapp that has Michael Gruber and Randy Rogel, who were the first 2 leads that we had in the show. Sing in the Rain turned out to be a very joyful experience for us, and we've always been proud that Music Theater Wichita and our team was able to extend the life of this show and help make it the show that it is today. Big thank you to Jamie Rocco, Linda Goodrich, Craig Barna, and everybody who created that first version in 1992. We brought the whole team back in 2000 for our second production of it, and then Linda Goodrich was the director and choreographer of the version we did in 2012. How does it rain on stage, you ask? Well, the set for Kathy's Street is the biggest set in the show, and it has to be all put together very solidly. It has a floor, it has a street deck which slants down slightly, and it has little holes in it where the water can drain. It drains out of that and goes into a pipe and into tanks that we have stored in the paint shop. It's 2 tanks, each of which can hold 2,500 gallons of water. The water then goes out of the tanks through a heating system and then into sprinkler pipes that are over the stage. And so when the street scene is pushed into place underneath those sprinkler pipes, the water cascades down onto that set and onto those actors. And the water that hits the deck goes through those holes and then back through the hose, back into the paint shop. It's pretty ingenious. The cast we had in 2012 was so wonderful. David Elder as Don Lockwood. We've since seen him in many shows, including A Chorus Line and Chicago last summer. Mary Michael Patterson as Kathy Selden. She has gone on to play Phantom on Broadway and to become the assistant director for the Phantom production, as well as its sequel, Love Never Dies, which she toured across the country in. Cary Tedder as Cosmo Brown, who has now married Mary Michael Patterson. And he's been on Broadway in Dames at Sea and Wicked and Bronx Tale. Really talented guy. And Anne Horak as Lena Lamont, who's been here many times, most recently on Broadway as Roxy Hart in Chicago, which she then repeated for us. It's a great cast. Linda did a great job with them, and Thomas W. Douglas, as always, did a wonderful job with our orchestra. We hope you'll enjoy these clips from Singin' in the Rain.